it's just on paper. I don't have any of the money. Well, you're going to have to give us the money, so you better sell it. And then when you sell it, you most likely can't get what the government says its actual value is, so you got to sell more of it to cover your taxes. That's why that they're starting to dump assets now, especially after the election and realizing it's going to be Obama for another 4 years. There's one thing rich aren't is they're not stupid. And let me tell you something. You're going to also find that there are some liberal wealthy people, especially out in Hollywood, who are doing the same thing. Isn't I do believe that Nicolas Cage, the guy's an idiot financially, I guess, anyway, but I guess he's selling a couple of his houses. And other liberal nut jobs in Hollywood, they're selling. Look, this is the perfect time for George Lucas to sell. He's going to save millions of dollars in capital gains and other taxes by selling before January 1. So if this guy ever wanted to get out and get his investment out of his studios that he spent all his, most of his adult life building up, now's the time to do it, whether he wanted to or not. Sell it off to Disney. He's saving himself a ton in taxes. So for you Star Wars fans who might think that, even though George Lucas kind of screwed up with the last 3 Star Wars movies, but you think that this is a huge mistake, blame the probable increase in estate and other taxes on the wealthy for George Lucas selling out to Disney now.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
It is in response to a video, a film. This is in response to a video.
Internet video that we had nothing to do with.
That was spontaneous? Was it a planned attack? Was there a terrorist element to it?
This is a response to a hateful and offensive video.
The video and its influence on the protests that occurred in Cairo and Benghazi. In response to this video, it was the video that caused the unrest in Cairo, that precipitated some of the arrests in Benghazi. It was sparked by the reaction to this video. The video was a precipitating cause to the unrest, specifically in Libya. Might take advantage of a situation that was brought about initially as a response to the video in question.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
You are totally correct that they spent 2 weeks telling us this was about a tape and that there was this riot outside the Benghazi consulate, which there wasn't.
Natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video.
I was in chronic pain, and my family struggling to make ends meet, food and gas prices going up, even keeping my job was iffy. Then I learned about a new miracle drug made in Washington, D.C. Spenditol. Spenditol is Washington's answer to all the painful problems Americans face. How to borrow $800 billion for a stimulus that didn't create jobs or fix the economy? Spenditol.
Spenditol is not for everyone. Side effects may include a mountain of government debt piled on our kids, a sudden loss of freedoms, higher prices for everything, leaving our kids a lesser America than we had. Ask your doctor or congressman if your conscience is strong enough for Spenditol.
And it's so popular in Washington, we have to import trillions more of it from China. Spenditol makes you feel better now and pushes off the really bad stuff till later, for them to deal with.
Call the White House and Congress. Tell them, stop spending it all.
Feeling lonely this holiday season? Looking for little human interaction? Do you want to feel contact in certain special places?
Then why not go through security at an airport?
The TSA.
TSA agents are ready and standing by to give you a little something extra to feel thankful about this holiday season.
The TSA.
What are you waiting for?
I want to check under your testicles.
Spending time with a TSA agent couldn't be easier. Simply book a flight departing from any American airport. When selected for a full body scanner, say no. You'll be pulled aside by a TSA agent, and that's when the fun begins. And you never know who your agent will be.
It could be me. Or me. Or even me.
But it's probably gonna be us. Take off your damn shoes.
The TSA. It's our business to touch yours.
Welcome to the Bureau of Womanhood Conformity. Independent thoughts are considered subversive because all must agree with our leader.
When it comes to women, preventative care should include coverage of contraceptive services such as birth control.
You see, if you don't believe government should pay for your birth control, you're not a real woman. Womanhood denied. If you refuse to accept that pregnancy is a punishment, you're denied as well.
I don't want them punished with a baby.
If you don't believe that abortions should be allowed for any reason, if you don't believe in aborting a child for being the wrong gender, and if you don't believe that stay-at-home mothers aren't real workers, you are not a real conformed woman.
His wife has actually never worked a day in her life. His wife has actually never worked a day in her life.
Finally, for your safety, if you oppose mandatory government health care, you will die.
They will be voting to say that women can die on the floor.
These standards and regulations were formed after our glorious victory in the war on women. Thank you for your cooperation and your conformity.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
And we are back. You are listening to one of the most powerful voices on Internet Talk Radio, which happens to belong to me, yours truly, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on The Rod Eccles Show. I am very lovable, too. Even when I piss people off, they still love me. You know, kind of like the dinosaur baby. Gotta love me. But it is true. Hey, this is from Yahoo News. Secession petitions now filed for all 50 states. Now, let's be frank, folks. I don't particularly like that. I don't. I know there's somebody, well, you got to be all for it. No, I am not for it at all. I'm with, Governor Rick, the state of Texas has they've reached 99,000 signatures on the petition in Texas. And the total number in all 50 states is well over 700,000 signatures. But Texas has got 99,000. And I'm with Governor Rick Perry. I don't think by seceding you're going to help, your state or the union. But I think it says something. I think it makes a statement that if things are not corrected, that this could be the only recourse to break up the union. And if that happens, folks, I mean, I know it's kind of, it's a little bit of fear on my part and a lot of other people's part because of how, we've lived our lives under a constitution that we're supposed to have, here in this country. And the greatness of the union that we have, because in unison, we all, and when I say we all, I mean the states, all the states, they don't have everything that they need to be an individual country, but we're able to share and communicate and trade freely, that it seems like we all have what we need, but we don't. Because once you start breaking that up, now it's like dealing with foreign nations. And there are a lot of states that are just landlocked. They don't have, there's no seaworthiness to them because they're landlocked. They have no avenue at all to the sea. And in this day and age, that's huge. You know how difficult it is to, having another state control your airspace. Now, what do you mean control my airspace? Well, if you're landlocked, that means if you're like, say, you look at the map, say you're, I don't know, Colorado. Say you're Colorado, or say you're Nebraska, and you got a plane. Because California's got a port, so stuff comes into California. So that's now got to be either trucked or flown into your state of Nebraska. Well, it's got to fly over other states or countries if we're not a union. They could deny air access. They could hold up truck traffic so it doesn't get to you. It could increase the cost of living in certain areas. It will. You can look at Europe. For some of those landlocked nations, it's not easy to be a landlocked. I mean, you want to have some access to the sea. I don't think it's a good idea. Not the way this world is currently configured, and not the way that we have lived and configured it would be devastating. But I think it sends a very strong message that this is not what the Founding Fathers intended. This is not constitutional, what's going on, and something needs to change. So, so now we've got petitions that have been filed in all 50 states, and North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas, all of those states obviously voted for former Governor Mitt Romney, as well as Florida. Each had accumulated. Now, Florida voted for Obama. Florida went to Obama. But those states, including Florida, each accumulated more than 25,000 signatures, the threshold that is needed to trigger an official response from the Obama administration. Now, knowing Obama, he's probably, he's the one and the potentate. He's just going to ignore this stuff, and we're not going to see a response from this guy. Now, that's I just find it fascinating. Now, this is not the first time. It's the first time that they garnered that many signatures in all 50 states at once. But there were secession votes or petitions that ran for both terms of President Bush. I think that there was some secession stuff under Clinton, but nothing reached the level that it's reached now, because there are people that are passionate about this guy not being president because he's destroying our country. Now, there is no obvious evidence to what I'm about to say, but I thoroughly believe that, considering what led up to this election, and what happened in certain states that Obama even won, that there was massive voter fraud going on, because this is the last time that some of these states are going to allow easy voter fraud. It's going to be much more difficult in 2016. I think that could change a lot. If we have more honest voting counts, it could be a little bit more difficult in some swing states, it could be more difficult for Democrats to win. Because I believe in the swings, in many of the swing states, and in some of the so-called diehard states, there was massive voter fraud. I believe there was voter fraud. And look, Representative Alan West is challenging down in Florida. I believe there was voter fraud going on down there in Florida. There was voter fraud in Texas. I wouldn't doubt, it was a little bit more difficult here, but I wouldn't doubt if there was voter fraud in Maine. Especially when it came to I talked about the gay marriage thing, and I know somebody, I work with somebody who's from Maine, lives in Maine, and he can't understand how in just 2 years that the state could so overwhelmingly flip from being anti-gay marriage to being pro-gay marriage. He's like, that nobody I know changed their mind. So that's kind of interesting.